I have a story to tell you. It's about how things we say and do toward other people could possibly impact their lives in not a nice way. This story goes back a long time. I think I may have been in the 7th grade. And you're like, can you remember back that far? Oh yeah, you bet your booties I can remember back that far. This impacted my life. I had an English teacher, and let me just say right now, she was the best English teacher I ever had. She taught me more about nouns and verbs and pronouns and punctuation, more so than any other teacher I ever had. In class, we had to write stories, and we'd turn them in at the end of class, and she'd grade them and give them back to us. Y'all have all done that. But one day she came up with this idea on how to teach us that punctuation is extremely important in everything we write. What she did was she took 2 big white pieces of poster board and she made a vest out of it. Now, it was one size fits all, so you can imagine how big it was. It was for boys and girls. It was a great big vest, had an arm cut out. It had a little tie in the front where you could tie it together. And on that poster board, on that vest, front and back, in great big letters, it said things like, I left a period off my sentence. I forgot to use a question mark. I'm learning about punctuation. And it was in huge black letters across that poster board. Like I said, front and back. I mean, it was huge. It was a great big thing. So anytime anybody left off their punctuation, a comma left out or a period left off the sentence, and she came in the next day with your paper, held it up, and she had taken a big old red marker and either put the period or put the question mark or put the comma, and you had to wear that vest for the rest of the day in that class, in that class. So boy, I was scared to death. I didn't want to wear that vest. It just so happened that way before I was even born, this teacher and my mother had some kind of problem with one another, some kind of feud. They both went to the same church, but they were clearly not friends. I don't know what the feud was about. I have no idea. It certainly didn't have anything to do with me. But anyway, what I would do is when I wrote out my paper, whatever I was supposed to do, I would go back over it and I would scour those sentences, make sure I had my commas in, make sure I had my periods in, make sure I had that question mark in, because I didn't want to wear that vest. A couple of days later, she came in and she held up my paper, and on it, at the end of one of my sentences, she had this great big red dot, large, quite large. She told me I left off a period on the end of my sentence, and I'm going to have to wear that vest. She walked over to my desk and I stood up, and she put that vest on me and tied it in front. And at the end of the class, I started to take the vest off, and she said, "No, I have changed the rules. from now on, anybody that has to wear this vest has to wear it the rest of the day. So next period was lunch. I had about 3 periods to go after that. And I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified beyond words. I went to lunch wearing that big old ugly vest. I didn't eat that day. I sat as far as away from everybody as I possibly could, hoping that they didn't notice me. But of course they noticed me. Look, I'm a walking sign. So I sat there and I started crying. I mean, I knew there were tears just rolling down my cheeks. And people started noticing it. I felt like I had 2 heads. And the more I cried, the worse it got. And some girl came over to me and she asked me, "Why are you wearing that?" And I told her. She said, "Oh, that's awful." She got up and she walked off, and about 15 minutes later, my teacher came in the cafeteria. She pointed at me and did a finger like this, and like, come here. And I walked over and looked up at her, and she said, "You can go to my room and take it off." And I said, "Well, thank you." And I went and I took it off. At the end of the school year, she gave us a folder, and it had all our papers in it that we had done over the years, so that we could go back over, I guess, show our parents what we'd done. I don't know. But anyway, I got that home. I started looking for that paper, that horrible paper with that big red dot on it. And I found it. There was that dot, that great big red dot. And I got out my magnifying glass, and I was looking at that dot, and that thing was as big as a dime. And I was looking at it really closely, and there, right on the corner of that red dot, was a pencil mark. It was my period that I put on that paper. Now, I knew when it happened what she had done, and I knew she knew it too, and I never said a word about it. And I went home. I never told my mother about it. I never mentioned it again. And years later, after I had divorced and moved back home, I was taking care of my mother at her house. She had cancer, and I was her caregiver. And there was a knock at the door, and I opened the door, and there was my teacher. She said she had come to see my mother. I wanted to slam the door in her face, but I didn't. I said, "Come in. I'll go see if she's awake." And I went back there and told my mother that she was there to see her. And I went and told her to come with me, and took her back to Mother's room. I got a chair for her to sit down beside the bed, and I went back to doing whatever it was I was doing in the first place. Well, she was in there about 15 or 20 minutes. And she came out, and I went to the door to let her out, and she tried a little bit of small talk with me, and I would yes or no, but I didn't have conversation. I wasn't rude, but I just didn't have any conversation. And so she left. But I knew that I must never speak with my mother about that. And I didn't go in there and I didn't say, what did she say, what did she want, because I knew what she wanted. She wanted to make amends. She knew my mother was dying. She wanted to come guess, clear up her own sense of guilt for all the years and all the things she had done, not just to my mother, but to me too, maybe. I guess she thought, well, she's gonna die. I need to go out there and, save my soul. Get it over with, and so I'll feel better about it. I knew exactly why she came. I never spoke to that woman again. And I was a grown woman with children by that time. But that had impacted me so much. I never forgave her. And you may say, well, only God can forgive. No, that's not true. We have the choice to forgive too. And that's why, when people make rude comments and they hurt other people's feelings, or they say things that they think is funny at the time, we never know, do we, how somewhere down the line that's going to really impact that person. It's going to really hurt them. You have to be very careful what you say, what you do, what you type. This teacher died not too long ago. And I saw on Facebook where people would say, oh, I'm so sad. She was the best teacher. I said she was the best teacher. Absolutely. I said that at the beginning of this video. And I didn't wish ill on her, not ever. And I didn't comment, no, she wasn't the best person that ever lived. Because she had done terrible damage to me. I never forgot it. I never forgave it. We need to be really careful what we say and do. That might impact someone for the rest of their lives.